Welcome to the Preferred Walk-On Show. I am your host, Seth Saunders, and we are joined by a very special guest today. Our guest is a testament to perseverance, innovation, and faith in the process. From his playing days at Hawaii to coaching at every level, from Emory Henry to Utah Tech to Washington State and now San Jose State, he brings passion, creativity, and belief. He's a teacher, he's a builder, and he's one of the most forward-thinking minds in college football. A big Preferred Walk-On welcome to San Jose State offensive coordinator Craig Stutzmann. Coach, welcome to the show.
What's up, Seth? Thanks for having me on. That's a hell of an introduction right there. I take that every single time.
We only know one speed, brother, and that is 110%. So we're ready to rip. Well, hey, look, we're coming off a big win on Saturday night over Hawaii, 45-38, big conference win. Offense looked outstanding. The bigger thing, though, I think, given your backstory and history, how cool is it to share a sideline and face off against Coach Chang and a program that's your alma mater and I know means so much to you?
Yeah, that was a special moment. You know, it's one of those things where it's bittersweet because leading up to the game, those guys are all brothers to me. You know, Timmy, we played CSL basketball together back in like the 7th grade or when I was, I think, in the 8th grade and he was in the 6th grade or something. And people don't know this, he was a heck of a basketball player too, by the way. You know, we just fed Timmy the ball, but grew up with him, played with him at the University of Hawaii, obviously, but there's a lot of guys on staff too. Their offensive coordinator, Anthony Arsenal, same thing. He's a year younger than I am. Both grew up together. Chris Brown, and he's like a brother to me. You know, my son calls him uncle. My wife calls him, you know, like a brother and stuff like that. So there's so many ties and deep ties. And then to say that, you know, playing there, have coached there before a couple of times. Like one of my cousins texted me last night, you know, and he's like, "Hey, how was it?" I said, "I'm never going to apologize for winning, but gosh, it's tough." Because after the game, you know, you see your brothers, you're like, what do you say? You know, but
yeah,
it was fun. It was sweet.
That's good, man. Yeah, it was. Hey, look, it was great entertainment too. I know a big one for you guys. Y'all have had a lot of close calls this year, so I know it's great to come out on top. And I know conversely for them, a tough call, right? Because they've been playing so well too. So what a great battle. And speaking of Hawaii, you know, you are a son of Hawaii, St. Louis High grad. Prolific career as a wide receiver at Hawaii, playing for Coach Jones, and just speak on what that means to you and how you carry that Aloha Spirit with you at all your coaching stops and influence your players.
Yeah, I think anytime you have the ability to go somewhere, you know, you take it as like a badge of honor, going to different places and showing people the Aloha Spirit. It doesn't matter. It doesn't just exist in Hawaii. It exists all over the country. And being able to teach people in like Emory Henry in Virginia, you know, whether we were in Texas, whether we're in Memphis, Tennessee, and all these different places. But, you know, they have something called Southern hospitality, and it's very similar. And so built really good relationship. And you know, you talk about what did you learn from June Jones and what do you learn from, you know, you take from Hawaii? The biggest thing is the passion for the game, how to treat people, how to, you know, teach people. You said earlier how you teach people, having patience, being positive. That was the biggest thing when Coach Jones first came in, was a huge ball of positivity and great energy and putting ownership on the players with teaching us and letting us make the mistakes and getting it corrected and understanding that's part of the process. And it's not just in football, it's in life. Gosh, I'm not perfect and nobody is. And you learn through experiences, you learn, and Coach Nui Matalola has a saying, CTRs, choose the right, making decisions with integrity. And that's just who we are. You're from Hawaii, you have Polynesian, I'm a quarter Hawaiian. That's the Polynesian way. Just do things with integrity, treat people. It's the golden rule. Treat people the way you want to be treated.
Man, I am for sure stealing CTR with my kids. I absolutely love that, Coach. That's outstanding. Well, you brought up Emory Henry, and I'm going to be straight with you. It's probably my favorite part of your story, and I'm going to tell you why. I am from a mapped out town in Virginia. I went to the small school called Essex High School. My head coach was a proud alum and former player at Emory Henry. He was a proud Wasp.
Really?
And so, yes. And so when I saw that as part of your story, I'm like, oh man, how crazy is this? My brother played baseball at Bluefield.
Okay.
So I'm just so familiar with that part of the state and that program. So take me through that. How do you end up with Coach Newsom in Emory, Virginia? And how much of a gift was that experience and how much did it teach you?
So really the way I got there was we just had got let go at Weber State. I was a receivers coach there. Our quarterbacks coach, Justin Riscotti, was the James Madison quarterback
That's
for the
right.
national championship year.
Yeah.
And with Coach Mickey Matthews. And Kurt Newsom was the offensive line coach at the time. So you fast forward, I don't know, what is it, 10 years later. And Coach Newsom was trying to hire maybe Justin, but Justin had gotten a job. I think he was like the quarterbacks coach or something at Tennessee Martin. So he got that job, and he just passed my name along. You know, Justin and I, we became really close over those 2 years. He was like my roommate on the road and everything, and him and his wife, you know, and their kids are awesome people. So he just kind of like dropped my name to Kurt Newsom, and he calls me and he says, "Hey, I don't know what your plans are, but you know, there's an opportunity. It's D3. You know, I know we were at FCS." And he's like, "What do you think?" And I said, "I would love to," because when I started first coaching high school ball, I was a offensive coordinator, and then I moved into a head coach, although it was, you know, a JV team. And I love being able to create an offense. I love to be able to have that type of relationship with the players and coach quarterbacks. And it was either going to another FCS program as a receivers coach, or was going to take that opportunity, go down 2 levels, be able to quote unquote reinvent myself, right? And not
Mm-hmm.
just being a receivers coach, and being able to coach quarterbacks and being able to create an offense. And my wife and I discussed it, and she's like, "Craig, I don't think it's like even a question." And I said, "I know we got to probably take the FCS job, right?" And she goes, "No, take the D3 job. We'll make it work. It's an opportunity for you to do whatever you want. Kurt Newsom sounds like a great guy." So I gave Coach Newsom a call. We talked for about half an hour. And I think like an hour or two later, he called and offered me the job. And I was on my way. And I went down there, and it was awesome because there's ESPN doesn't show their games, or it didn't at the time. And I don't know if they
Mm-hmm.
do now or not, but it was one of those things where it's like, you can be creative. Nobody's really going to, you know, get on you for running some crazy stuff. And then the people there at Emory Henry in Abingdon, Virginia were special. I
Yeah.
mean, I would tell people back home in Hawaii, it felt like you're on the North Shore, like in Ho'ula, but instead of the ocean around it was mountains and trees. It was the Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah.
And just the people there were so sweet. They were so warm. I still keep in touch with them, and we get homesick. My wife and I get homesick for that place. And it's special. And I love Emory and Henry. I love the people there, and I love Kurt Newsom. He did wonders for me. He is one of the probably 3 or 4 most important person and influence in my coaching career and the way that I go about doing my business.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, thank you for sharing that story, Coach. I love that. You'll appreciate this. My head coach, I told you, went there, and he was my intermediate school, middle school gym teacher. That's how I first met him. Straight out of Emory and Henry. That was his first job, right? And so we were playing volleyball in gym class one day, and I was very competitive, hated to lose. And you know, we lost, and I'm kind of like having a fit. And he pulls me aside and he says, "Hey, look, it's not important if you're the best player. What's important is you make every player around you the best that they can be." And man, I've taken that with me my whole life. Like, what a lesson, right? So gosh, I love that piece of your story. And you're right, that part of the state is outstanding, and the people there are just the tops of the tops. And how cool is it too that your former quarterback, Vin Saxton, is now coaching in the league with the Chiefs? Like, how awesome is that, with you being able to pour into kids and then watching them go on and do things in the game?
Well, I'm not surprised. I mean, when Kevin left Appalachian State, the first place that he visited was Emory and Henry, I should say. And instantly, like, we connected, and Coach Newsom loved him. And he was so smart. He understood things. And honestly, I learned so much that year with him, because he
Mhm.
was a smart quarterback. He understood football. And we were testing out all these different ideas with RPOs, with run and shoot concepts, with going tempo and doing different paces, and how we're going to block this look, and how we're going to build these rules for these RPOs. And Kevin he was like the guinea pig, if you will, but like he
Yeah,
was the
yeah.
guy that could come back and say, "Coach, from my lens," you know, he says, I think I could read this better if we block it this way, and we have the lineman do it this way, and I get my eyes here." And we had an idea of what we wanted to do in spring, and he wasn't with us in spring. He came in I think at the end of the semester through the summer. And just the feedback I was able to get from him, the way that he could play the game, the way that he saw it, I am not surprised that he's coaching with the Kansas City Chiefs and he's got a couple of Super Bowl rings. It was funny, the day before, or no, the day of the game that we played Hawaii on Saturday, he texts me, he's like, good luck today in the Emory and Henry Bowl.
That's right.
Yeah, we keep in contact. His dad texted me, Kevin Saxon Sr. I was just blessed to have him as a quarterback for 2 years. And we all say, right, as coaches, great players make good coaches. And he was a great player, and he helped me get to where I'm at right now.
So you mentioned the Emory and Henry Bowl. I want to ask you about that. So full circle, right, on Saturday night, because after you leave Emory and Henry, you recommend, or my understanding is you recommend Coach Chang for the same spot, and he ends up taking it, coaching with Coach Newsom. So talk to me about that and like how cool that is, and like full circle with you guys both then spreading off the tree and going and doing big things after.
Yeah, so Nick Rolovich, and it's funny because you talk about being resilient and understanding certain things and not understanding and having faith in things are going to work out.
Mm-hmm.
So Nick Rolovich gets the head job at the University of Hawaii, and I interview with him. Nick and Rolo and I were buddies, like we're good friends, and I'm like, I understand it. He's a boss now. He's got to do what's right. So I interview for the receivers coach because he first hires Coach Hill. He's at Boise State now. He's back there. But anyways, Zach Hill. So he hires Zach Hill, right, as a quarterback's coach in OC. So I'm trying to get on as maybe the receivers coach. So I interview with them. I don't get hired. As a receivers coach. So I'm like, dang, that sucks. Well, about a month and a half later, he texts me, he says, hey, I'm on the road. I got to talk to you. I said, okay. So he calls me. He's like, hey, I made a mistake. Would you come back? And I said, what's the role? He goes, well, Zach Hill left, and I said, I love to coach quarterbacks. And he goes, okay, we'll figure it out. Anyways, that worked out that way. And instantly I called Kurt Newsom because Timmy was looking, I think he was at Jackson State and it didn't work out there. So he was looking for something. And I got the guy for you, coach. And he goes, who? I said, Timmy Chang. He goes, really? He would be interested? I said, I think so. So I called Timmy. And in the beginning, Timmy was a little reluctant, maybe because you're in the middle of like Southwest Virginia, his wife is from Canada. I think they just had a baby and he's like, I got to figure this out. And I said, just do me the favor. I'm in Hawaii right now. Okay. I'm going to be in Hawaii. My wife, Bree, and Bree knows Timmy. Like we all grew up together. So I said, why don't you come down? His girlfriend, which is his wife now, right? His girlfriend at the time, Sherry. I said, bring Sherry down, stay at our house. It was provided by Emory and Henry, right? Stay at our house. Just come and visit the place. I promise you're going to love it. The head coach is great. The offense is set. My brother's here coaching receivers. And I said, this place is special. I'm just telling you, Timmy, it's special. You're not going to want to leave. But after a year or two, you're going to get a D1 job. And he goes, okay, I'll visit. Loved it. And he was there for a year and then ended up going to Nevada. And that's where, then he got his from Hal Mummy when he was at SMU, when Coach Mummy was with June, is when Timmy GA'd. So he had the air raid background, and then going with, to Nevada with Coach Norvell is when he did a little bit more of that stuff. So that's where I think his influence from the air raid is, and his spinoff is, and it's just cool. We get a chance to talk about, his time there at Emory and Henry, but also his different sprinkles on the run and shoot. And it's pretty cool. It's awesome.
Yeah. Y'all's stories, it's what I love about the game, to be honest, Coach, is that there's so many interesting characters with ties to all these places across the country that have, their own space in the ecosystem, right? And their own uniqueness and specialness to them. And so, yeah, man, I just love that. So then take me into this, because you're running your spread and shred offense. Y'all are tearing it up. It's exciting to watch. Walk me through what influences that, how you develop that. Does that start at Emory and Henry when you are getting to call plays and run the offense and you're kind of getting to tinker and having a lot of freedom? Like where does that all start?
Yeah, that started at Emory and Henry. I think when I was at Weber State, it was when I was at Weber State, I got introduced to RPOs because who was it? It was one of our coaches had come from Montana and he was at Oregon. And so he had an idea of the RPOs. Coach Pflugrad, Robin Pflugrad, right?
Mm-hmm.
He legendary coach. So he was our OC for a year, and we started looking at some of these RPOs, but we were doing bubbles and they were doing slants and everything. And in my mind, I'm like, man, if I ever get to call it, I think it'd be pretty unstoppable if you put run and shoot concepts on this thing.
Yeah.
And because everybody was like, okay, to take away the bubble slant, you just play press man, play inside leverage, or you take away the little bubble screens. You don't have answers, right? So run and shoot gives you the ability to have answers for every coverage.
Mm-hmm.
So then at Emory Henry, it was just one of those things that just, hey, why don't we just throw this on it? Why don't we throw this on the run? Man, I don't know if you can do that. That doesn't look good. And then we started going tempo, and I coached Marcus Mariota in high school, and Marcus and
Yeah.
not, still keeping contact. So I called Marcus. I said, Marcus, hey, I see you guys, and I would tape their games and I'd be like, hey, when you guys do this, like, what are you really reading? He would give me some clues, and so some of that. And then I got on the web and I was infatuated with the Baylor system, the Art Browse
Yeah.
Baylor football system.
Yeah.
Well, coincidentally, that actually started off, Art Browse went to the Houston Gamblers camp, I think June was saying, in 1984, spent 2 weeks with them, learned run and shoot, went back to his high school, tweaked it so he could run it in high school, and then it was called the veer and shoot. And I didn't know that. So I'm
I
watching,
had no idea.
so I watched this I find online a guy that's selling like the all 22 film. And so I emailed the guy, I said like, hey, do you guys have like 20, I forget what the year was, like 2013 or 14 Baylor's football, or 2012. And he's like, yeah, I got all the games. I said, send me a link. I'll send you money. So I buy all this film and I'm watching it and I'm watching it. And I'm like, this is so run and shooty. They're doing RPOs. I'm going to do this too. So I'm adding in some different ideas to it, getting 11 personnel, going super fast, having one word calls, but also doing run and shoot and doing like all these different things. And then a week before our first game, my wife is like, hey, what is it going to look like? I said, I don't know. It's going to be either really good or it's going to be really bad, but it's going to be my fault either way if we get fired. I
Yeah.
was tired of getting fired and not really having that say in anything. And so she's like, what are you going to call it if it's good? I said, I don't know what I'm going to call it. And she's like, well, what's the system? Like, what are you trying to do? I said, we're just trying to spread the defense and we're just trying to shred them. And she goes, that's it. Spread and shred. I said, that's pretty cool. So that's how I came up. And the crazy thing is, so that was in 2014, 2013 or 14, I think, when I was at Emory Henry. Part of the reason why I got the job at Texas State was because like who was it? GJ Kinney and Mac
Mm-hmm.
Leffler
Yeah.
at Texas State,
Yeah.
and at Carney Word was running the Art Browse system.
Yeah.
And when GJ went to the University of Hawaii, he took my job, the quarterback's job, and he was the OC for Ty Graham when we went to Washington State. And during COVID, he said he just watched a ton of our film. And he's like, man, this matches what I want to run, which is the Art Browse system, the Baylor system. And so, boom, he wins at Incarnate Word. The receivers coach, right? He goes ahead. Clint Kelo gets the head job at Incarnate Word. He needs a receivers coach. Long story short, he gives me a call because we have some mutual friends. Well, I met him once at a camp years ago. Never really had a relationship with him. And he's like, hey, I think your ideas, the things that you do would be a perfect fit for us and it would
Mm-hmm.
grow our package. You want to come? And I was like, let me call my wife or let me talk to my wife. I'll get back to you. 10 minutes later, she's like, yes. So, okay, call him. Text he said, okay, I'll send the contract in the morning.
Oh, that is so incredible, Coach. You know what? I can't help but think, and hearing you tell this part of your story is, I talk to my kids all the time about God has a gift in everything for us, right? Regardless of whether it's quote unquote good or quote unquote bad, there's a gift in all of it, and you got to find the gift. And all I hear when you talk about this stop in Emory Henry is the gift of freedom, right?
Yes, sir.
Giving you the ability to innovate and just kind of do what you felt like would work, and that's turned into this, and it's opened all these doors. Like, gosh, man, I love that. So good on you for taking that opportunity and rolling with it. Like it's
Awesome.
outstanding.
And honestly, that's what I have here with Coach Ken Neomatalolo. He gives me ultimate freedom and he's like, Stutz, I want you to push the envelope. I want you to, he's like, I don't care if we throw it every down, just have an understanding of why we're doing it, but he is talk about freedom, talk about choice. That's what life is about, right? And he's the ultimate supporter. He's the ultimate person. That's what I'm saying. Like what I had with Kurt Newsom at Emory and Henry and that support system and
Hmm.
that freedom is the same support system and freedom that I have here with our assistant coaches through Coach Ken Niumatalolo. And it's a special place. It really is.
So you've talked about a bunch of them, and it just seems like so many incredible coaching influences and mentors along your journey. What are some of the lessons that have helped you shape your identity as a coach and some of the things that you carry with you as you're shepherding these young kids that you're coaching each year?
Yeah, I think, when you start off, I mean, there's so many guys that I've been blessed to be coached by. You got the Lee brothers at St. Louis High School, and I learned hard work. I learned Coach Ron Lee had a saying, the cream of the crop always rises at the top during critical situations and big time games. And so learning how to, you know, that's what you strive to play and coach in big time situations, and that's where you thrive. And so
Hmm.
that's what we learn at St. Louis. Go to, was it University of Hawaii and playing under Coach Jones? It was the freedom of choice, the
Hmm.
freedom to learn and make mistakes and get better, and giving the freedom to the players to get open and having open dialogue and staying super positive through tough times. Because I went to St. Louis, never lost. Go to We lost every game my freshman year. Then June Jones comes in, flips that mentality. Kurt Newsom, ultra competitive, but loves the players.
Hmm.
Talk about a player's coach. He'll get after them, but he'll love them up even harder. And I learned a lot about offensive line play. I learned a lot more about how to run the football and all that stuff, the box play. And then also just how to assimilate to certain places different. Then you talk about like Nick Rolovich. I mean, being able to have a personal relationship, but also professional relationship. We're brothers, but at the same time too, though, you got to learn how to respect the head coach, and
Hmm.
you can't have certain conversations in certain ways. But man, we had so much fun together and creating different ideas. And it was the same thing. It was like, why not? Why not look around like, hey, we're the bosses here. We can do whatever, what I mean, and change some things. And then also I learned a lot more of coaching quarterbacks from Rolo through the lens of a run and shoot quarterback. It was huge in my development as a quarterbacks coach. I learned so much through him in those 4 or 5 years we were together. GJ Kinney, nobody builds a roster like GJ Kinney now.
Hmm.
And nobody recruits like GJ Kinney. I'm telling you right now, that roster is full with talent. They love him. He's a player's coach. That guy is special.
Hmm.
He'll be probably somewhere else in no time. But that dude, his evaluation of players and the way that he recruits guys the right way, you can't touch him,
Yeah.
And then you go and talk about Ken Nui Matalolo, that the poster coach of integrity.
Hmm.
He's a hero to us in the Polynesian community. He gives a lot of hope to people from Hawaii and Polynesians, and he's well spoken. He's well respected. And he is very selfless, and he's always a servant leader, and learning how to treat young men, allowing them to make choice and have choices, but guiding them with love.
All right, last question for you today. We ask all of our coaches this. You get Doc Brown's DeLorean for one day. You get to go back to talk to Coach Stutzmann senior year at Hawaii. What is the advice you give to senior year Craig?
That's just one, just
I
one
know there's so much.
point in time. Don't stop playing football on your terms. At- This is one. So I got 3 pillars that I try to teach my players wherever I go. Right. And one of them is shoot your shot and never live life with regret. No regrets, no matter what. That's like the third thing, right? The first one is integrity. The second one is communication, positive communication. And the third one is shoot your shot, no regrets. And I only have one regret in my life, and it was stopping playing football too soon. I got to the CFL. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. My heart was set on just playing in the NFL. And I'm
Hmm.
not the tallest, I'm not the fastest or anything like that. And my opportunity was to play in the CFL. And I went there with so much passion to play the game. It's a business. And being from Hawaii, you're not used to that. My
Hmm.
first time being on the mainland, living on my own, and other opportunities. One of them was, and the Arena League was big at the time, right? In the early
Yeah.
2000s.
Yeah.
And the San Jose SaberCats also wanted me to come. And I told my agent, like the day before I got on the plane, I said, I'm done playing football. And he's like, why? And I said, it's not the same. I wanted to play in the NFL. I said, the relationships, all this type of stuff, it's not the same. I'll just go do something else. And that is the one regret that I have. I would tell myself back then, my senior year, continue to play the game as long as you can. And that's what I tell the players, every player that I ever coach, when they come to that crisis of, should I go play in this league or should I play in this league? I said, if you have a passion, keep playing. Don't let them tell you when it's your time to stop. And that's the only regret that I have. So that's what I would tell myself.
I love that. I will say this, though, based on what you've told me thus far and based on the opportunities that you've had in your career, absent that experience, you then wouldn't be armed with the ability to give a very, very grounded counsel to your now players, right? And so, like I said, there's a gift in everything, coach. So
It's crazy. I mean,
yeah.
so many things. There's so many things, right? Like, it's crazy to listen to you speak. I can tell that you're a man of faith and you understand that things happen for a reason, you know, and every question that, just understand you make the best choices that you can and go with it. And there's so many things that's happened in the last, 40 something years of my life, but I wouldn't change it for the world. The good times, the bad times, through the bad times, that's when you learn about who you are and you test your resiliency and you fortify your faith. And I wouldn't change anything else for the world, man. Proud of where I am, blessed where I am, and I'm really, really blessed and really thankful.
Well, Coach, we really, really appreciate you taking time to come hang with us and tell some of your story, especially during a game week. God, I've really enjoyed talking with you. Really enjoyed hearing your story. And so, look, man, we'll be supporting y'all and continued success moving forward. After talking to you, I know it will be nothing but success for you as you continue down the road.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on, Seth. This is awesome.